live at, good evening. My name's John Chory. I'm Vice Chairman of the Finance Committee, filling in for Dana McMasters tonight, just in case anyone's watching or reviews this tape later on. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30, Thursday, September 17th, 2020. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes that were sent out that Brian took.
So move.
Anyone like a second?
Yep.
Okay. All those, any discussion on the minutes?
Nope.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes of September 9th, 2020, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I was not there, so I can't vote.
Oh, okay. So it passes 5 to 1 abstention, I guess. Moving on, capital plan. There is no, as far as I know, there's no adjustments to the capital plan that we voted on last week. So can't speak to that. Well, actually, let me say something to that. I'll mention it here. We just got notified tonight of certified free cash for this year, 2020. And I haven't got too much other than some 3 separate numbers, and I'll just state those numbers. This was just made available tonight, and it's up to the selectmen to decide what to do with that money. But so that may affect the capital plan, because we did remove some things from capital. I don't know if they can put them on, but anyway. The general fund, certified free cash in the general fund is $5,453,000 and $40. In the enterprise water fund, there's $1,429,733. In the enterprise sewer fund, there's $271,917 in there. I view that as good news. As folks know, we were going to the stabilization fund this year to help balance the budget. So I don't know what the selectmen will do. I guess we'll find out Monday night. And we have another meeting scheduled next Thursday when they get the minutes from Brian, and we get closer to Thursday. I'll send out the notice on that. I was thinking at that time, that next Thursday meeting, we would probably have more information from the selectmen and the school committee meeting as to whether they've adjusted, the school committee has adjusted their budget to the numbers that we were looking for, or maybe using some of this free cash now. But anyway, we'll probably vote Thursday on the school committee budget next Thursday. And it's in the Griffin Room, 6:30.
Is Dr. Carpenter going to show for next Thursday? Has he been asked to attend?
I have no idea. If Dana will be back, and I'm sure we'll figure that out. So moving on to the update on budgets. There really aren't any update on budgets. The school will be meeting with the selectmen sometime next week. I don't know if they're meeting with them Monday night or sometime other than that. I don't know. I do not know. There's no reductions for us to make, as far as I know. If anyone wants to discuss anything particular, we can, and or change some votes. But I don't anticipate changing any votes. Does anyone have any discussion on budgets they'd like to? Any questions they may want to ask, or? Okay. Update on town warrant discussions and possible votes. Town warrant is out to print now. It's available on the town website. Meeting is scheduled for September 26th at 10 a.m. at the Monomoy Regional High School. I did listen in on the selectmen's meeting Monday night. One of the discussion items was the field layout. As you can see in front of you, there's two plans. There's an in plan for people coming into the meeting and an out plan for the going out of the meeting. For the 2 members, Brian and Dale, who haven't sat in on the finance committee, we typically sit up front, which we are. It's labeled on the plan. Usually we sit at one long table. This year it's being broken up, 2 tables don't know if they're gonna be tiered or not, but there'll be two separate tables, one in front of the other. Social distancing. Masks are required to enter the facility, but once you sit down, you're allowed to take off your mask and speak. There'll be microphones scattered throughout the field. I'm not sure if people have to go to the mic or the mic will come to you. There are some precautions with covers being put over the mic for people to speak, like temporary disposable covers, and then they'll be replaced. The seating arrangements on the chart, you can see it's 420, is that what it is? The number of seats?
70.
470.
470, and how those are gonna be arranged, if you can't really make it out on those dots, but there's yellow dots. The bigger of the yellow dots means it's 3 people can sit there, but they all have to be family members. 1 dot is for just 1 person to sit there. And once you sit down, and you can remove your mask, or you can keep it on. I think the intent of the town meeting is to try to move it along as quickly as possible. And that's why the things were removed from the capital plan, and some of the warrant articles were removed that were possibly contentious. Yes, Dan?
What's the uniform of the day?
When we met in the auditorium, we all wore suits. The annual suit wearing for me was that night. I don't think suits at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning will probably be appropriate, but I mentioned a button-down shirt. I may put a tie on and some khaki pants, but that's about the extent of it.
Okay. But no suits.
It's totally up to you if you want to wear a suit. But that night, during the normal ones, I usually wore a suit. And
I wear suits to weddings and funerals.
yes, so it's surprisingly it still fit me. But anyway, so that's basic. And then the other layout of the town meeting is the out portion. I don't know, is there lunch? Does anyone know about lunch at all, or there's no lunch?
I don't believe so.
No refreshments, no water, no food, you have to bring your own water.
Okay. But the finance committee, we are supplying some water. I don't know how that's going to be. Dana had asked for a contribution a ways back, and he's going to buy some water. Don't know how that's going to be dispensed, but we'll see Saturday at 10 o'clock how that is. That's about all the thing on the layout of the.
John, I have a question about the layout.
Yeah.
How will this be communicated to people moving around? How will the general public know?
I'm guessing that there'll be ushers there of some sort, Dale, and, it was discussed in the selectmen's meeting. I don't know how many people are gonna tune into the selectmen's meeting. Don't know if there's some conversation gonna be publicized in the Chronicle next week about it, other than people showing up at 10. The parking is going to be in back of the Monomoy School, and then where the buses are typically parked. I guess there's going to be some type of parking there. They're making arrangements to get rid of the buses for the day. So I imagine there's going to be ushers of some point directing people.
Should we show up half an hour early?
I think probably we'll know better Thursday. Dana will have a better.
Don't we have a 9
I thought
o'clock meeting?
Dana said that.
Yeah, typically we meet like an hour or two before,
9 o'clock.
just in case there's some last minute things, but, yeah, I think next Thursday, Dana will have a much more handle on, what, the time and procedures are for that. And, weather's supposed to be good, supposedly. There is a rain date Sunday. So that's about all I have on the layout there of the town meeting. The selectmen's meeting, there wasn't really anything discussed Monday night of significance. The town did accept the grant money from the fire chief that he received for the self-contained breathing apparatus tanks for a replacement there. There was a short thing in there, but the fire department said they were going to make that up with their internal budget. So, again, with free cash, that may change things there too. I don't know. So, well, that's that's about it on the update of town meeting. And I have no other discussions on that or no possible votes. The last item on the agenda is old business or topics that wasn't reasonably expected to be printed in the agenda. So if anyone has any questions on any other things concerning the budget or town meeting, I may be able to answer them, I may not be able to.
I guess I'd just like to make a comment, which
Sure.
is, you and I had this conversation. I know the Board of Selectmen will meet supposedly with the schools next week. We're then, I thought we were gonna meet with the schools thereafter. I'd be reluctant to vote on this budget unless I had a chance to speak to somebody representing the schools department. For myself,
Yeah.
so my hope would be that we have a representative here. I know Tom, who's not present tonight, has expressed his own concern and would want to be able to pose questions. So I think it would be in the best interest, if we want to achieve a successful vote, that somebody from the schools be here.
I agree with you, Brian. What I'll do is I'll send Dana a note and have him invite he'll probably talk with the selectmen about what, and then invite someone to the school. I mean, they have plenty enough time to come.
Yes.
I mean, they've got, I'll send Dana a note tonight. He can send a note to Scott Carpenter tomorrow to invite him or his designee to the meeting. But I think you're absolutely right. I mean, they're the second largest budget, obviously, component of the town's budget is the schools. And to not even hear them in the last, we haven't heard from them at all. I agree, yeah.
No, and there's a lot of up and down in that budget that I think the public has a right to know. I certainly would like to know, sitting on this committee. I think some of the things that are very worthy, but I'd like them to be able to spell it out.
Yeah.
I think they owe that to the town.
Just a further comment on Brian's comment. I think we have to demonstrate due diligence, that we considered the school budget, or we spoke to someone about the school budget to demonstrate to the public that we were diligent in terms of at least doing a basic review of the school budget. Otherwise,
Right.
we could be criticized for just
Sure.
rubber stamping.
I agree, and another question I'd like to pose to him, I've heard rumors, I don't know what the actual number is, but I've heard up to 40 new children or students are being enrolled in the school system this year.
I know they've got 27.
Yeah, I've
Last
heard
number I
something
heard
like
was
that.
27.
Yeah, and then I spoke to someone who works in the school department, and she told me 40.
Yep.
So I'd like to see how that will or will not affect the school budget.
And are any special needs kids?
I haven't heard the special needs
No.
ones. These are second homers, I'm guessing, that they decided to come down here and enroll their children in the school system.
Right.
I don't want to make any presumptions, but I think the school can absorb 40 kids. This is spread across the 12 grades too, so I think they could absorb 40 kids, but with all these COVID restrictions and stuff they had to do internally to get them, I mean, they must have expenses obviously associated with all this COVID stuff.
Still costs $7 to $10 grand to educate each child, so.
So, but that's a very good point, and now I'll send Dana a note tonight, asking that a school representative be here next Thursday.
Great, thank you.
And, so on old business, if anyone doesn't have anything to say, Angelo?
Just one thing, this is really old because we've said it 100 times. I'm very concerned that if they don't keep the taxes that our citizens are paying next year at or below last year, there's going to be a longer meeting than everybody anticipated, and there's going to be other things cut, including perhaps the budget not being approved at all. Especially with the $5 million they just came up with free cash, you would think they would be able to work through things that don't have to be done at this point. But I also would appreciate if, instead of saying that the budget is balanced, which means that you were smart enough to spend only as much as you collected, rather than what you collected by whom, from whom.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way they do it. I think the residents should have a right to know what is expected of them in taxes.
Yes, I agree. I mean, that's a,
It's scary, because I've been through a number of these meetings where the year had been very difficult before, and people were very concerned and very careful about what they would vote for, and found much information that was enough to stop the vote. It's very difficult.
mhm. Yes, I agree, yeah, and it's, the selectmen will, they'll, it's, as we all know, it's their budget, and, this free cash really is it's something that has to be dealt with, you know. And, so, I guess, if there's nothing else to discuss, entertain a motion to, adjourn.
Just one
Oh,
comment,
yeah.
John. Once we get through this town meeting and the budget and that kind of thing, and we start our next cycle of budget review, one of the things that we might want to think about is what other kinds of things should we be looking at besides the budget in terms of the town's finances, their financial systems, their internal control systems,
Mm-hmm.
some kind of a plan for the year on non-budget items, issues that we might want to tackle.
Thanks for bringing that up, Dan. I mean, I've thought about that already, and I thought about maybe mentioning something tonight that I didn't think it might not be appropriate for me to bring it up right here, but I have thoughts on that, after town meeting, and Dana will help me procedurally figure that, because we're gonna have to reorganize. As we all know, Dana is getting off the board at the end of the
Yeah.
town meeting. I'm tentatively slated to be, to be chairman, but we need to vote a vice chairman, we need to vote a clerk. And then, to your point directly, though, I will address it. I have thought long and hard about what you've just said. And we've got 6 months before we're right back at this again.
Right.
And we haven't got a lot of time.
No.
And I've got some thoughts that, I want to, again, get into them right tonight, but I will
No,
once.
I wasn't suggesting that.
Once,
no.
yeah, once we get into it, is to really aggressively go after the town budget on certain things that we can have effective change on. There's some things we have a very difficult change, in my opinion. As we all know, school, salary and wages make up a tremendous part of the budget. Somewhere between, 70 and 80% of the budget is salary and wages.
Yeah.
We can't change that. It's driven by contracts, by unions, and we really can't affect that. There's only one way you can affect that. It's not what people want to hear. So the other thing is, the 20% is remaining, is benefits, electricity, water, lights.
And
So we-
uncollected taxes.
But there are some things that we can suggest that, working with the selectmen, that we go after.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uncollected property taxes
Yep.
is one. Fees is another
Yeah,
one.
revenue, fees.
Fees
big
and
one.
local receipts is another one.
Big one.
I mean, we talk about these things at the end of the year, but we never do anything at the end of the year, is to aggressively look at them and to see what we can do, Another thing that concerns me is the unspent but approved warrant articles that we have on the books of over $16 million of projects that have been approved by the residents of the town to be spent for different amenities to the town, and they have not been spent. And some of those warrant articles go back to 2013. And my thoughts was, if they were requested, then they should have been spent. Now, there are extenuating circumstances, designs, permitting, things that slow the process down, but I think we can look at that. If we don't need them, return the money to the town. And if we do get them approved, get them put in and done. Because every time we delay a warrant not being spent, chances are the costs go up. You know, we had one article on the warrant this year, Round Cove ramp replacement. That was approved over 2 years ago, or 2 years ago. There were delays through permitting and other things, I think. They've come back, the waterways have come back and asked for another $130,000, I think it was, to finish that project, or even to start the project, not to finish it, but to start it. The good news semblantly there is that money's coming out of the waterways accounts, which is paid by the boaters. So it's, but I feel that the townspeople, if they vote for these things at town meeting, there's an expectation that they should be spent and put in. It only delays, we've seen many anecdotal, the library, we all know, is a good example of delaying a project for 3 years, what it costs. And projects, in my experience, don't get cheaper, they just get more expensive. So to your point, there are some things I'd like to suggest to the board. I've got a few more, but I'll wait for the appropriate time. And, but I think where we usually take a hiatus of 3 or 4 months, we're not going to have that ability this year to take that hike, because it's the end of September. You got October, November, December, and we usually start in January right away. But so I think we need to start in almost relatively quickly. At least have a strategy session on what we want to collectively want to go after, and try to make some meaningful change to the town. And so, yes is the answer to your question, Dan. So pending any other discussion or questions, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor, any discussion on that? All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 6-0.